How's it going today? Welcome to the channel if you have not been here before, and welcome back to the channel if you have. Today I'm going to do a quick little video of we'll say some benefits of some aftermarket springs. I got a set of ZBROZ springs. I already have them on my machine over here. This is my wife's machine. I'm putting them on here. Yesterday I put a little picture on a couple of the Facebook groups, and a lot of people had questions about ride height and everything. So I figure I'll just show a couple difference, and then I figure while I'm at it, I will take advantage of the time and I'll show you how quick and easy it is to switch out a set of these springs. I've got both the rears done on this machine. It honestly probably took me less than an hour. So once I get through a couple of little things that I was going to go over, I will take apart one of them on the front and just show you how quick and easy it is. You didn't have to take the shocks completely off the machine. It's honestly really easy. But anyway, to get what people were asking about ride quality and everything, I know a lot of people were talking about how some springs will rub on the shock body. That'll be like right in here. This slider right here, the plastic slider, will get a bunch of crap in behind it, and if you don't clean it a lot, it will rub. It'll pretty much rub through the shock body. And sometimes, even if you do keep it relatively clean, I would believe that maybe even the plastic itself can just rub through the shock body over time, just from going up and down really fast. But I do know firsthand that if you get sand and gravel and mud in there and you don't clean it out often, it'll put some pretty deep grooves in the shock body real quick. So anyway, I'll get to a couple of the points that people are asking. All right, so I'm going to put a picture up just to give a little example of the stock setup with the stock springs, and all of this right here, from up here to right there, the bottom of those threads on your shock body, that's pretty much where you can set your preload and get your ride height. So I put this picture up of the stock shock. You can see how little of the threads are left right there. So you really don't have much adjustment left in your preload or the amount that you can really lift the rear end. If you look at the difference here, all the way up here, look at how close it is to the top. I believe stock is somewhere all the way down here. So there's all that difference. You can see all that is for your preload slash lift height, whichever you want to call it. But right now I just pretty much start off with what ZBROZ recommends as a good starting point. As far as your crossover, also I put that right where they said to put it. So that's just to get things started, and then I'll take it for a ride and everything, and I'll make adjustments accordingly. Well, I guess there's also a couple other things that I should go over while I'm back here. Since I already got pretty much everything all set up for the rear, one good thing to do while you're back here and you got the shock off and everything else, it's already wide open, you might as well take your clutch cover off and blow out your clutches, because you know it's never an easier time than when the wheel, tire, and shock are all completely free and out of the way. I took mine off and blew the clutches out, and yeah, it was pretty dusty. I haven't done it in a little while, so that was one thing. It was dusty. Next thing, not really an extra, but a good starting point, what I found, my machine, I started with the preload. This measurement from the bottom of the preload right here, the ring, to here on my machine is, I believe, right at 4 inches. So to get a slight bit more lift for my wife's machine, from here to right there, the top of the spring, the bottom of the preload ring, is I went 4 1/4. So that just adds a little bit extra lift, and I may end up having to adjust it after the fact. after I go for a ride. But that's just a couple little things while I'm back here. I figure I might as well go over them. Also, another thing that I actually messed up on, I guess you can't really see it on this side, but over here, yesterday when I was putting my springs on, I suppose I could have left it, but this bottom one, I had it completely all put back together, adjusted and everything. I realized that I put the spring on, not technically upside down, but the letters were upside down. So I took it back apart and fixed it. So when you're doing all of them, if you're worried about that type of stuff, make sure you have all the lettering going the same way. So that's it for back here now. Now I'll get ready for the front. All right, so here's a few things in the front real quick before I get started. You can see there's, there's still a lot of adjustment left. You can screw that preload collar all the way down, really. There's still, obviously not all the way down, but you can screw it down quite a bit. So there's still a lot of adjustment as far as height goes, even with the stock front springs. You can see they got the lower, we'll call it spring holder, I guess, where it mounts onto the shock. That's much thicker right there. You get a new one with the ZBROZ. So that way there, your springs are a little bit longer. They're probably, or they'll sit about an inch or so lower on the actual shock mount. But we'll get a quick little measurement of ground clearance right now on this. Just so we know. This is kind of hard to do by myself, but we're gonna go with right around 16 and a half or so to that bump that's on the bottom there. So we'll get started on the front and we'll get right back. All right, so let's get going with the removal of the spring. First thing you want to do is move the bump stop up. All you really got to do is take a screwdriver, stick it in here, move it up. So see, I just moved it up to there. Just got to move it up about 3 inches, the instructions say. So then what I've been doing, or what I would do, is take something with a little rubber on it so that you're not really doing any damage, and pull down on the spring. Use that to take the tension off of the preload. So you're going to use the wrench or whatever you're going to use to take all of that preload pressure off. Then just unscrew the preload nut all the way to the top. It's got to go all the way up because you will not have enough room to take the spring off once it gets there. Okay, so there's that. Then that's all the way screwed up. Then grab your 15 millimeter and a wrench of some sort. Other way. Take that off. Just go ahead and remove that. So that's all ready to go. Now what I have found is pretty much the hardest part is just getting this out. I don't know why, but just push up on there as much as you can. There we go. Now that's out. You don't even need that anymore. So go ahead, slide all this off. So there is the stock. Here's the new spring set for the front. So you can just look at the difference here and see that. Let's make sure that the writing's right. Put that on there. That has to point upwards. The taller part on this points upward. So there, I don't know if you can really see, but for the front springs, there's really not much different at all in the height. A little bit, but not much. But you will get a little bit more travel because the lower portion is much thinner. This is, I guess, the spring perch. You can see the difference. This sits down on the spring this way where this one did. So you're gonna get like an extra inch right there. So now, once you got all that, take that, slide it on there, push that all the way up, grab your new spring perch, put that on there, and that is, oops, sorry, put that one on upside down. Like this, there we go. Now it'll go on there right. So now that's on there, take your bolt, get that in there. It's not super easy to do by yourself, but without a doubt, you see, it can be done by yourself. So there's that. Now right now I'm gonna screw the preload nut on the very top. I'll start screwing that down, at least to get a little tension on there, just so everything's not jiggling around a lot. And we'll move this back down. So I like to take it and put the, wanted to make sure on the other one, I put the opening on this bottom spring seat facing in or down or whichever way you want to look at it. And then I took the end of the spring, rotated it to where it's right here, opposite of the opening. That way there, you got to keep your springs kind of clocked away from each other. I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. I'm just putting a little more tension on this because they're still a little too loose to make any minor adjustments. Got that all the way down, that's there. So now you got the end tang, if you want to call it, of this spring right here. So that means that up here on the top of the spring, actually it's right here, is that. So you want to take the tender spring above it and rotate that to where it's about 180 degrees out from that one. And then you just hold the springs in place and go ahead and start running it down. This is not super easy, but because it's kind of tight up in there. Move this out of the way. I just try and hold this all down as much as I can while I'm This is honestly the hardest part, is just getting the tension back on there, which is crazy, but it is. Maybe I can get that to pull down right there. We go. That takes a little bit off of it. So then I already got the other one set, so I pretty much took a measurement off of my machine. I went from where the reservoir mounts to the shock body, and I took that down to 3 1/4 inches to the top of the spring or the bottom of the preload nut. So I do still have a decent amount to go. Only problem is you just can't get your hand in there. See where we're at. All right now we're at 3 inches, just got a little bit more to go. You only get little movements at a time, which makes it take a little bit extra time. If I had littler hands, might be able to get them in there. And I got some small hands. Let's see where we're at. All right, we're just about there. So really after you get to that point, nothing else gets tightened up there. That just is what it is. So then what I'm gonna do, this gets torqued to 42 foot-pounds. I'm just gonna use this just to get it snugged up. There's that. Grab that, grab my torque wrench. It's already set. All right, there we go. That's all set. So honestly, that is really it. Although I do notice that my spring kind of moved a little bit there. So that's still good. The plate that it sits on, spring's good right there. That's good. The top one moved a little bit too. Just try and keep those clocked to 180 as good as you can. That's it, really. As you can see, there is still a lot of adjustment for ride height. So I'll slap the wheel and tire back on. I got the other one done. We'll go for a ride, come back, see if I need any other adjustments. All right, well here it is. All the springs, all four corners, all on. Took it for a ride. Everything seemed pretty good. I'll probably end up making a few more adjustments to the ride height, but I think for the most part, it's pretty good. My machine right here, my ride height's a little different than hers, but as you see, I've got 32-inch tires that don't really measure a true 32. She has 32-inch tires that measure a full 32. So I'm gonna give her a little bit more height, I guess, by more spring adjustment, because these 32s, believe it or not, they actually will rub a little bit. They actually rubbed right there with pretty much a full compression, but everything come out pretty good. I got no complaints at all with these ZBROZ springs. Both machines, I without a doubt think that they made a really nice difference. So if anyone's thinking about getting some springs to get a little better ride and a little more height, I would strongly suggest going with some ZBROZ. You can order them for a really nice price through Midwest Side by Side. Pretty good, quick shipping. So if you're looking for anything like that, look them up. I'll leave a link below.